Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Emily and today I'm going to be going through my May wrap up plus my June TBR. Which will include prompts from the Whatever You Want-a-thon, because that is what I'm going to participate in this month, because it seems easier to participate in a readathon where you can read whatever you want than a readathon that you have to be really strict about, because that was my issue last month. So in May I was trying to complete the May the 4th read with you, I think it was what it was called. I cannot remember now. Anyway, that's what I was trying to complete, but I ended up reading every other book other than what I was meant to read. So, well, you know. And also, if you hear coughing at the back, that is my partner. He is not feeling the best and is trying to cough up mucus, so that's great. Yay! So yeah, let's get started with the haul. On my list of hauled books, I have these three beauties. So we got Princess Diaries, The Princess Diaries Takes Two, and The Princess Diaries Mia Goes Forth. I found them at a independent bookstore. They do secondhand books there, and I found them. I'm like, yes, that is what I want, because I want to try and collect the original covers of these, because I found out that there's another version of these and I don't like that other version, and they're the more popular ones to get, and I'm like, nope, I want these covers. I want these names and everything else, so that is what I am collecting. I've got 6 so far, there's 2 more to go in the series, so I'm gonna hopefully try and find those at a book fair or something like that. There's one coming up, I think when this goes up it will be this weekend, so woo, I'm looking forward to going to the book fair. Next book is Such a Fun Age by Reid. I've heard so many good things about it, so I picked it up and I thought, why not? Next is Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. So this is on my TBR for the long run, so I was like, yeah, I'm going to pick it up anyway. I know it's got bad reviews, but I don't know if it's because lovers of Pride and Prejudice, the actual classic novel, don't like this, but because it's a different version or something like that. But I'm like, you know what, let's do it the other way around. Let's read this first and then read Pride and Prejudice. That would be a fun one, I reckon anyway. Next I hauled is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. So I heard a couple of good things, like Books and Lala said it was really good and gave it 5 stars, and I'm like, okay, well, I want a story that's going to make me cry, and apparently this one makes you cry in some capacity, so I'm like, okay, I want to read this story, so that is what I'm going to do at some point or other. I don't know when. This next book is The Last Story of Mina by Nancy Jooyoun Kim. It is a story. I don't know what it's actually about, and I picked this up because I'm trying to complete the Buzzwordathon for the year, and so not June but July's book, you need to have like the word last, and I know everyone's going to try and read the one last stop, and I do want to read that at some point, but I just didn't want to read it in July for some reason. I don't know, I'm just like, I don't want to buy any more books, but then I bought a book, so I don't know. So I bought The Last Story of Mina, and hopefully it's good. I don't know. I'm just hoping it's good. And the last book that I hauled is For Weird Circumstances, and that is Second First Impressions by Sally Thorne. So I'll link the vlog up above, so if you want to actually find out why I bought this book, you will find out. But pretty much I ruined my book that I brought with me for a trip. I didn't have another book, and I planned to read the entire day pretty much because I knew I would be bored, and so I quickly went to Kmart and bought a new book, and that was the book I picked because nothing else was sticking out. So yeah, and I've read it, and it was actually a really good book. I enjoyed the romance. It was like a nice safe cozy read, so if you don't like safe cozy romances, then probably not the book for you, but it's still a nice romance in my opinion. And next we have more books I read in May. I read a total of 10 books. 10 books in May. This is the most I've read since starting my booktube journey, which is really weird. But 3 of the books I read were literally like under 100 pages, so that's probably why it's hitched up to 10 books. And I'll start with those 3 just because they are a part of the series and it will make sense in a sec. First, like, you can't actually see the thing, but I'll put the covers somewhere on as I'm talking about them. So I read the first 3 books in the Del Toro Quest series, and well, because they're in here, they're about 80 pages. But in the actual novels that we got like in primary school and stuff like that, they were about just over 100, so 130 pages. So yeah, so quick reads, to say the least. And so the first book was The Forest of Silence, which I did enjoy. We got to understand the story behind the Del Toro quest and everything else, but I feel like it was way too quick, this first book, like way too quick, because you kind of jumped into the first like 4 chapters are the prelogue as to what happened, and then after that was setting up the new characters to then start going on this quest. So the forest really happened quite quickly, but they kind of prefaced it saying that each place that they go to find these gems are going to be worse as they go. So I suppose it was a good starting point, I assume. So that was my issue with that one. And then we had the next one, which is The Lake of Tears, and I actually liked it a lot more in some capacity to the first one, because it really, like, you got to see these characters a lot more fleshed out, and you also got to experience more of the journey rather than trying to set up these characters, which was really good. But they do spend a lot of time setting up each villain in some capacity. So but in the third one, which was I just finished this and I can't remember, City of the Rats, they didn't really spend a lot of time setting up the villain, so it kind of was very disconnected. But then once you got to the end and you understood like the whole situation, it just like, it felt really rushed in some way, because the villain itself literally was there for about a chapter and then disappeared. So that was my problem. But it is middle grade, and I feel like it's more for a younger audience than what I typically like to read. But my partner was like, yeah, you need to read these books, they're a part of like every Australian childhood. And I was like, I never read them because the covers were so creepy. Like, you would have seen the covers as I was putting them up. They are creepy. So that is why I did not read them. Next, I have 2 Anne of Green Gables books. So we have the 5th one, Anne's House of Dreams, and the 6th one, which is Anne of Ingleside. I'm putting these 2 together for this because I DNF'd Anne of Ingleside because I was starting to really get sick of Anne. Well, not just Anne, but the stories itself. Like, I wasn't connecting to any of the characters. Every book had new characters, so we had to learn and adjust to these new characters, and even then the characters were not the best characters. They weren't like set up the best, and I was kind of getting a bit sick of it. So maybe later on I will finish this one and get to the last 2 in the series, but we don't know. I don't know anyway. And this one, I was starting to get a bit, it was actually not too bad. Like, they actually talk about having a miscarriage in this, which I was really surprised for the age. Yeah, it was really hard reading that chapter, because like, you knew what happened and it was really sad. And like, Marilla pretty much saying that like, oh, this is God's plan, and Anna's just like, how is this God's plan? Like, how could God plan this for me when it's like the worst thing possible? But then the only thing is that after like 2 chapters, like, Anne never really had didn't really think about this child ever again. But kind of like when she had the next child, was just like, oh, we can't name it this because that was my first child. That was the only time though, which is a bit. But anyway, it was alright. I gave that one 3 stars. And also, I forgot the Del Toro quest and 3 books I've read there. All 3 stars as well. Next, we have Mindhunter Inside the FBI Elite Serial Crime Unit by John Douglas and Mark Olshaker. So this one was a good book. I really enjoyed reading this book. A part of my review, I said that I felt like I was very desensitized to a lot of this stuff because of how
Yes, 2 lots of chips for you.
So, as I was saying, I felt like I was very desensitized to a lot of what they were saying, because like, I grew up watching Criminal Minds. I loved Criminal Minds growing up and things like that, watching all the crime shows and everything. So like, all the information though, it was meant to be revelating and not shocking, but really learning something. But I felt like I didn't learn anything because I had watched all this previously. I grew up watching this type of stuff, which is very weird to say, but that is pretty much what I did. And also, I've watched a lot of true crime documentaries. Yes, I am that white girl. Don't judge me. And I also did criminology for a year, so it was still really nice to, you know, go back to those roots that I really enjoyed growing up and stuff like that. I also gave it 3 stars because I usually give non-fiction 3 stars, because unless it blows me out of my mind, I'll just give it 3 stars. So my partner came home with food, and I'm gonna eat food while I talk about that is what this is turning into. maybe I could turn it into this. Like I just eat food and talk about books. That actually sounds like a good book. Next book I read is Imposters by Scott Westerfield. So I didn't realize this was actually kind of an add-on to another series that Scott Westerfield had written, and I have not read it yet, so I'm going to read these ones first before I get to the next one. But I did enjoy this. I gave it 4 stars, and like you didn't have to read the first series to know what's happening, but it would probably give you settings because it talks about like the Pretties era, the specials, and the Rusties, which I think would give you a perfect, like the Ugliest series would give you a lot of insight into what those things were, but I didn't understand. Partner had read the book, so I kind of asked him a little bit about it. So, but even then, they fill you enough that you understand what's going on without spoiling anything for that last series. So I really enjoyed this. Really related to the main character a bit in some capacity. So yeah, pretty much it's about twins who one is a princess and the other is kept a secret to be the body double, the protector of the older sister. Well, like the twins, but you know, one's older. It's really good after that. So that's all I'm going to give you for that. Next, I read this for Buzzwordathon as the word for it was home or house. So I picked Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. And I read this. It was an easy book to read. Yeah, it's about these peculiar children, and Jacob is on the quest to figure out his grandfather's past, and it's a really nice story. Like, I wouldn't say it's creepy, but it's still good. I gave it 4 stars, but I am going to continue with the series, so that'll be cool to read. Let's see what happens. The last book I read is They Never Learned by Layne Fargo. This one is also my book of the month this month, which is kind of nice. Being a thriller as well. I don't read a lot of thrillers, if you've heard. I have a love-hate with them. And anyway, this one is about a teacher and a student, and pretty much both female, and they're both trying to navigate their different lives and how, you know, their lives kind of collide, which is really nice. And I feel like the twist kind of came too soon in the book, but I don't know. That was my kind of biggest thing, that I think it came too soon, but I did still enjoy the story. And there was another twist at the end, but at the same time I kind of saw it coming because all the men in this book are trash, and that was another I wasn't particularly a huge fan of. Was every single man in this book was a trashy man. Like, we didn't have any good ones, which kind of sucked at the same time. Like, it was good still. I enjoyed it. So now we are going to go through with the TBR of June. So if you do not know, if you have not seen, it is Whatever You Wantathon coming in June, and it's hosted by Book Browsing Blog, which I will link down below, as well as her video to the announcement and FAQ. So the first book, so I picked different books for each prompt, so that's gonna say that means my list is 15 books, which is fine. I twisted them a bit, so if you don't think it really fits, then whatever. So the first book I picked for the prompt cover reminds you of Pride. So I picked, this doesn't look like Pride, but I'll explain my reasoning why. Never Seen by Shining Messenger. The reason I picked this is because the book spines look like a Pride flag, or like they're very colourful, so each spine like resembles a different colour, and I feel like that is like a Pride kind of thing, even though the books might not be Pride. Still, that is how I'm twisting that one. I probably do have a lot of colourful books, but I just wanted to pick certain books to make sure that I can read them, so I picked this one. I'm also halfway through, and you can tell my book has got all the water damage, which is sad, but that's okay, we'll deal with it. Next is Reread a Comfort, and so I'm not technically rereading a book, but I'm reading a book from a series I've read and I enjoyed. It's like, it was a nice comfort kind of thing to read, which was so Imposters, Shatter City, so that's how I'm Why the Hell Not, and you know, why not. So reading this one, so when I start getting through the series I've started and start rereading, but I am reading a book that I've already read, if that makes sense. That's probably not even close to fitting, but whatever. I'm gonna make it work. Okay, so for 5-star prediction, I put The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. So I feel like everyone loves this book. It's either you love it or you hate it, and I feel like I'll be someone that loves it. So I'm hoping this will be a 5-star prediction. Okay, so I'm back. So next prompt is author's debut, and I am picking An Ember in the Ashes by Saba to here. So I had this on my TBR last month, and I'm hoping to get to it. Fingers crossed. A book that is out of your comfort zone. So I picked Coraline because the movie absolutely terrified me as a child, and I'm kind of curious as to how the book was, but we'll see how that goes. And it's a short one, so hopefully it won't take me too long to get through. And also Milligray for the Milligray Monarchs. Okay, so next prompt is Hold in the Past Year, and I picked Hollow City, the second novel in the Peculiar Children series, so I picked that one because I bought it in the last year. So for indie and self-publish, I picked Journey into Darkness by John Douglas and Mark Olshaker. So it's by Arrow Publishers, never really heard of it before, so I picked it, and it's the next book I'm reading, so I'm looking forward to it. We'll go bookmarked, so which is fun, and I'm looking forward to reading it, start reading it tonight. POC rep, I picked The Henna Wars by Abida Jagida, and this is POC rep, so I thought that would be a good one to read, and I haven't read it yet, and I've been meaning to read it since September of last year, and I really want to get to it. So on my Twitter I ran a poll picking which book to pick for the poll option, and I picked Amari and the Night Brothers. Well, my Twitter people who voted picked Amari and the Night Brothers, so another middle grade, so I'm looking forward to reading this. I've heard everyone enjoys it, so I'm looking forward to reading it. Next prompt is Fit for a TBR game prompt, and I picked Law by Alexander Bracken. This has been on my TBR since February, and I just want to read it, but at the same time don't want to read it, so I'm trying to motivate myself to read it, so hopefully this will be the month I read it. I don't know what game I picked it for, because I'm going to assume that someone pulled out like YA or Greek mythology, so that is what I picked. Hoping that someone has picked this at some point. Okay, so for buddy read I picked You Against Me by Jenny Downham. So me and my partner have decided to start this thing where we read a book that each other picks. So he picked me this one, and I picked him Eleanor and Park by Rainbow Rowell. So if you have any recommendations on what I should get my partner to read, because I don't know what to pick him, because we're trying to do this every 3 months. Anyway, so I picked this as a buddy read because it's kind of like buddy reading, but somewhat. So disability / mental health rep, and I picked Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine, because I think it's got some mental health stuff in there, I'm pretty sure. So I picked that one. Yeah, I hope it's good. And I also picked it for the Buzzwordathon prompt, and I think it had to have a name, and because it's got the name in the title, it's, a name. Bookish creator favourite. So I ended up picking Skullduggery Pleasant, and yes, I know you're going to say that this is not a favourite, but I'm going with the assumption that probably someone, I would assume like either Gavin or Jade, would actually enjoy the series, because I've never heard them talk about it, though I feel like they haven't read it yet, and I think they would actually enjoy the Skullduggery series. I'm up to book 4, The Dark Days, so I'm looking forward to that and figuring out what happened to Skullduggery, so there's that. And but probably it won't pass in the point system because they've got very strict books on that one, so but I'm going to put it as that prompt and be like, I would assume Gavin or Jade would enjoy this. Next prompt is cover featuring the team colour. I don't really have a lot of orange books, so I ended up picking Love Rosie by Cecilia Ahern. So there's orange in the jumper, and that's what I'm going with. So yeah, that's what I picked, and it's chunky, so but I don't think I'll get to it today, but we'll see. And last prompt is, so the last letter of the title is the next book will be the book that you read's first letter. So I picked The Shifting Sands because I know once I finish reading Journey into Darkness, I'll go into The Shifting Sands, and the T doesn't count, so, or like the doesn't count, so it's Shifting Sands. So yeah, that's what I picked, and that is Emily Rodda, and it's the 4th book in the whatever series it is called. So Delta Quest, that is what it's called. I'm getting delirious now. Anyway, talked too much about books, had too many books to go through. And now we are done. I am looking forward to this month. I don't think I'll get through 15 books, but I'm going to have July to catch up on those books and probably, hopefully not add any more books to the TBR. Hopefully, we'll see. And yeah, that's it for me today. I hope you did enjoy. Give it a thumbs up. Comment down below, what are you most excited about reading in June? I know a lot of people are excited for June with Pride Month and everything like that. I need to really step up my game and get a few more Pride books in my TBR. There's at least one, which is good, so we need more in there as far as I'm aware of, and need to buy more. Good incentive to buy books? I think so. But yeah, and subscribe if you want to see more from me. And yeah, until next time, I'll see you later. Bye!